SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
When banking starts to feel less personal, you know where to find us. Community Bank. Deep roots, local people, personal banking. Visit communitybank.net. Member FDIC.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Woo! Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive. But now I'm a man, way past 21. I want you to believe me, baby.
Good Wednesday morning, and welcome in. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi. Thank you for joining us, for starting your day with us. Hope things are well. Alongside Lance Tolbert, I'm Richard Cross. Mornings is brought to you by Community Bank. Online at communitybank.net. Community Bank, rooted in our community. Middle of the week. Lance, hello.
What's going on, brother?
Don't know, man.
Don't know it, huh?
Don't know. No, it's still hot.
Yeah. It's pretty warm out there. I tell you, if you need to get a good sweat in, just walk outside.
Won't take long.
Doesn't take but a minute. I did it this morning.
Yeah.
80
it
degrees.
Really got me last night. I had to walk outside and grab something out of my truck at 10:30. And I walked out, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
oh man.
Suffocating.
No break just because it's dark outside.
I drug a few limbs to the road. I kind of forgot a few of them in the driveway. It was about 10, 11 o'clock. I was like, oh, man, I need to drag these over. Boy, I broke a sweat in like 30 feet. This is summer. I love it. It's the sauna. You stay healthy. Your pores. You stay.
That's what it is. Good skin.
Filtered. Yeah, everything's filtered.
Good skin. Mid to upper 90s today in South Haven, with a heat index between 105 and 110. Mid 70s for the overnight low. Mostly sunny, humid, chance of an isolated afternoon thunderstorm. Did you get any of those yesterday? Did you get one that just popped up out of nowhere?
They were floating around, but never got over to the house. I mean, you could see them. They were small and isolated. The clouds helped. That's when I went back to work. The clouds would kind of get around. I'm like, oh, yeah, this is a perfect time to do something. The sun went just beating down on you.
It was strange. There was one point where nothing really at my house, but for like 3 minutes, a downpour on the other side of town.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday afternoon, there was a huge cloud that rolled in from the south and is like loud, long, angry, a thunder roll as you can hear.
Boom, 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 boom.
And it's like, ooh, it's about to get us. And then nothing. And then it finally cleared off, but it got like 30 seconds of rain. Enough where you can see big, fat raindrops that hit the sidewalk. Mm-hmm. But they're all spread out. Not enough to make the whole sidewalk wet. And then it was just sunny again.
I had one of it was like that last week. Yeah, I had one of it, just 5 minutes of the biggest raindrops that you could imagine, and then it just stopped. And you could see between the raindrops. There just wasn't enough. But it is fun this time of year. You never know what you're going to get. If it's going to be a gully washer, just going to be a little spritz on it. Yeah. Just never know.
That's right.
Hopefully the Bertha won't be a mess. It's been hovering around out there. Hadn't seen any remnant of that up here, though. It's just nothing.
No, it has not. Has not. Aberdeen, upper 90s for you today. Going to hit 110 on the heat index with mid-70s for the overnight low. Sunny to partly cloudy and humid. Scattered thunderstorms possible. Rolling Fork, mid to upper 90s. I mean, it's rinse and repeat right now across the entire state. Heat index somewhere 108, 109, maybe 110. Partly cloudy for you, though, today in Rolling Fork with a good chance of some showers and thunderstorms. This is the one that surprised me a little bit. Gulfport, low to mid-90s. Forecast for just a mix of sun and clouds. Higher chance of showers and thunderstorms due to a sea breeze and some tropical moisture. They describe it as humid coastal heat.
Yeah.
Huh.
Now, and you see the Bertha rolling around out there, and it's just not, you're talking about minimal chance, at least on the coast today, for some rain. With that thing sitting out there, like you said, that's kind of odd, isn't it?
I think for 2 days I've just been waiting to see that because you've got coastal flood warnings that are in place. I don't know that we've ever gotten a request for a specific city in the forecast, but here we are. Can you guys include Flora in your forecast today?
Yeah, man, got it right here. That's Jackson
Why not?
area. Jackson area, got you pulled up. Not a problem. Today's going to be hot. 98 degrees. Copy and paste weather. 111 heat index values.
Whew.
Little wind, not much. 20 miles an hour, maybe some gusts, and 20% chance of showers tonight. So about, like you said, copy and paste.
Yeah. Thanks for asking.
Yeah. I love Flora, man. What a neat little place.
JB says stay cool and hydrated today. I'm sorry, what about Flora?
I'll just say it's a neat little place. Just kind of cool, little tucked over there.
Mm-hmm.
Got the petrified forest around.
Keith says, can you imagine our grandfathers out there in this weather with a mule and a plow?
No, they didn't do it. They went into the air conditioning.
Did they now?
Yeah, right.
Sure. Morning, gentlemen. Hope you have a good day. Hoping the rain holds off at South Haven tonight. My wife and I are going to see Toad the Wet Sprocket and Men at Work.
Wow, that's a throwback. I love it.
Yeah.
Toad the Wet Sprocket.
Beautiful.
It's a good one, too. Been a while.
Beautiful.
It's a 90s band.
Morning, guys. I promise I will not be complaining about the hot weather today here in Greenwood. I'm sharing my breakfast bowl opinion. Eggs, turkey, sausage, cheese, and Crystal hot sauce.
Oh, okay. Before I read, I thought it was like on a Crystal, but no, it's the hot sauce.
Yeah.
The Crystal hot sauce is underrated, I think.
Is it?
Yeah, man. If you're a hot sauce fan, it's one that you'd see on many tables and little white label, blue writing. I love
like
it.
spice. I'm not a big hot sauce guy. I got nothing against it. Not like afraid of it or anything. It's like,
I'm more of I put it on my chicken. Fried chicken's got to have a little dash or two. A little hot loving.
Yeah.
Did you eat good yesterday? Anything good? I ate a bag of lettuce just to check it out. See if it a couple of hot coffees and a bag of lettuce.
Just for fun.
Just to see if it was, if we're in the clear
it's your
yet.
version of playing the lottery.
Yeah. Just seeing if I could make it. Feeling good about myself today.
Yeah, we had breakfast for dinner last night.
Oh, I love that. That's my
So
favorite. Usually I'll just head up to Waffle House to do it, and it's just yourself. It's like a lot of work, and then you eat breakfast, just like 2 minutes of eating, 20, 30 minutes of prep.
Yeah.
Eating scrambled eggs. Like, I got to eat them while they're hot.
Yeah. Emma Lazarus was born on this day in 1849, the American poet best known for The New Colossus. That would be the sonnet that is inscribed at the base of the Statue of Liberty. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, and so on. Rose Fitzgerald Kennedy, born on this day in 1890. You want to talk about a woman that put up with a lot.
Tough.
Who?
Tough as nails.
She was the matriarch of the Kennedy family, the mother of President John F. Kennedy, along with Robert F. Kennedy and Ted Kennedy. Enough tragedy in that family to last several lifetimes. Some of it self-induced. Alexander Calder, born in 1898, the American sculptor famous for inventing kinetic sculptures, also known as mobiles, and large-scale stables?
Large-scale stables, I guess that's the ones they don't move.
Yeah, I suppose. Oh, yeah. Abstract sculptures.
Mm-hmm.
Sculptures. Like the ones you see in a modern museum or out in a park or something like that.
It's like a big explanation point or something.
Yeah. So this is the cat that built like the deal that hangs above a baby bed that spins around?
I think so, maybe. The black, red, and white stuff. Isn't that the colors of most contemporary art?
Well, yeah. I mean, not so much on baby mobiles.
No, they do have that that real sterile color scheme, though, the black, red, and white one. I remember that. I don't have babies, but I remember that being something that's real good for the brain or something,
Yeah. Selena Gomez, born on this day in 1992, the singer, actress, and producer, star of Wizards of Waverly Place, and had some songs. Bad Liar, Lose You to Love Me. Also has a beauty company. Danny Glover, iconic in Lethal Weapon, The Color Purple, and Predator Part 2.
I love the line in the but he's black. And Lethal Weapon. That's one of my favorites.
Back with you right after this. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi. Thanks for joining us.
I think I'll be right here to stay. Well, the water keep churning while my poor heart is burning. Muddy water, take my pain away.
Good morning from the Venable Glass.
The coffee is hot, but the truth is even hotter.
It's hot news.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
It's hot
On Super Talk, Mississippi.
Kinda hangs in the air. Rednecks, white socks, and blue ribbon beer. A cowboy's cussing a pinball machine. A drunk at the bar is getting noisy and mean.
So it's going to be a strong country music Wednesday.
I'm hoping. Yes, sir.
That's a pretty good start. Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank. Rooted in our community, communitybank.net. David Spade was born on this day in 1964, the actor and comedian known for his roles on Saturday Night Live, co-starring alongside Chris Farley in Tommy Boy.
Oh.
David Spade and Joe Dirt.
Dirte. Yeah, Joe Dirte.
Rules of Engagement. William Dafoe, born in 1955, the actor with 4 Oscar nominations.
Platoon or Mississippi Burning? What do you, if you had to pick one of the two?
Platoon.
What a movie, man. Smells like napalm in the morning. Is one of my favorite lines in any movie. That is
like that?
Apocalypse Now. I just love those two movies, man. I mean, Apocalypse Now, Redux. You got to sit down and take some time to enjoy it. But Platoon, I don't know. I mean, have you watched Platoon many times? I've probably seen it 50.
No.
Okay.
I mean, a handful, and probably not in 20 to 25 years.
And then Full Metal Jacket, the other. Those are 3 excellent ones.
Yeah.
It's hard to rank them, though, to me. I mean, those 3 are so uniquely different.
I got a message from someone during the break. This was kind of apropos of nothing. It said, I hope one of these mornings you will say when Lance makes one of his somewhat off-the-wall comments, I have no idea what the heck you're talking about. Possible that was from one of your former teammates.
Yeah, probably. I'll have to dig this one out and see who's calling me out today.
Yeah. No, this came directly to me, not
to you. Okay,
not to the shared text line. Mm-hmm. Shawn Michaels, born on this day in 1965, the legendary American professional wrestler. He was the Heartbreak Kid. Alex Trebek was born on this day in 1940. This is Jeopardy! Although I guess he didn't say that. Oscar De La Renta. Your rented tuxedo brought to you by.
Yeah.
And finally, George Clinton, the funk musician.
Oh, he's a lot of fun, too.
Yeah.
I've seen him in Memphis quite a few times.
Mm-hmm.
Back at the Memphis in May. He's kind of a regular up there.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, let's see here. This day in history, July 22nd, there was the First Crusade. Geoffrey of Bouillon, I didn't say that right. Bouillon, elected the first defender or ruler of the Kingdom of Jerusalem after the capture of the city. 1298, you had the Battle of Falkirk. English forces under King Edward I defeating Scottish forces led by William Wallace using longbowmen. Hey, who were you pulling for that one? Were you for England or for Scotland?
I'm from the Scotsmen, man. I mean, they did that prima noctra thing and, were taking all the women.
Well, and they had the cool skirts.
And they had the skirts and the great beards. Yeah, I mean, I'm in with the Scots.
Yeah. Some great golf courses.
Ooh, yeah. Bunch of knockdown shots out there.
Roanoke Colony in 1587. The second English group arrives on Roanoke Island to reestablish the settlement. It was later known as the Lost Colony.
They're like, yeah, where is everybody?
Yeah.
Thought we were coming into a colony. It basically just moved in with the Indians from most of the reports that, I've done in research.
And probably then kicked them out?
I don't know. I mean, it seems that they merged in with the Indians. They found remnants of several of them, many, many years later that had kind of just, hooked up with Indian tribes and became Indian.
Yeah. Alexander Mackenzie reached the Pacific Ocean today in 1793, completing the first recorded European transcontinental crossing of North America. And I think Canada was his route for most of the way.
I think isn't there a Mount Mackenzie or something like that?
I'm sure.
Yeah.
A lot of mountains out there. The Battle of Atlanta happened during the Civil War in 1864 today. William Tecumseh Sherman leading the Union troops. Wiley Poole completed the first solo flight around the world in just over 7 days in 1933.
I mean, that seems pretty quick.
Yeah, especially with gas stops.
Yeah.
John Dillinger came to an end on this day in 1934. FBI agents got him right outside the Biograph Theater in Chicago. Richard Nixon became the first vice president to preside over a cabinet meeting. Did so in 1955. And finally, in 1990, Greg LeMond won his third Tour de France.
Well, that's all fine and dandy, but if you are a movie fan, in 1959, that's the day that they released Plan 9 from Outer Space. Bela Lugosi, directed by Ed Wood, considered the worst director of all time and likely the worst movie ever made. It is a cult classic. If you've never seen it, don't get your hopes up, but it is a really good one to watch if you're one of those cult movie classic types.
Why would you watch a terrible movie intentionally?
It's kind of like Flash Gordon. I mean, it's really poorly done, but if you watch it, it's extremely entertaining. So you can find a lot of things in there. They're like, whoa, okay, this is a real movie. Okay. But yeah, they're very
just following your stream of conscience. Greg LeMond on this day won his third Tour de France.
That's big time.
Be that as it may, you should watch this terrible movie.
You should. I mean, they're great. I mean, they're absolutely so terrible that they're good.
All right. Mm-hmm. There we go. Catherine Lee Bates wrote America the Beautiful, inspired by Pikes Peak on this day in 1893. All right, let's get to some news this morning, and also the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395. JB says, I beg to differ. The Missing Links is the worst movie ever made.
No, I'm going to have to watch that. Thank you, JB.
Shaq Bully, I don't think my boys in Florida are too fond of you lumping them in with Jackson.
That's the way they do the weather.
Well, you didn't. Did you type Flora specifically in?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I do that all the time. I do Metro weather, so,
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, you pull it in, but you're still getting the same.
I'm not trying to tell you how to do your job.
No, you'll still get the same exact weather is what I'm saying. It's nothing different,
My favorite Glover role was Dietz on Lonesome Dove.
Excellent call.
Headed to the garden to pick peas and cut okra. That's from Jerry in Pontotoc. Jerry, I bet you are soaked from your head to your toes already.
Yeah, it's just move into the garden and you're going to get soaked.
Yeah. All these kids in band camp right now are loving the heat.
I got some good picks here of some something growing from Mr. Tom. Looks like some beans, huh?
Poultrygeist. It's the worst movie ever. All right. Preliminary findings from the independent autopsy that was ordered by the legal team for Nolan Wells supposedly will be released later this morning. Civil rights attorney Ben Crump announced yesterday that he will join Wells' parents and NAACP President and CEO Derek Johnson for a press conference at the annual NAACP National Convention in Chicago this morning at 8 a.m. During the press conference, Crump is expected to discuss the preliminary findings of an independent autopsy conducted on behalf of the family and paid for by former NFL quarterback and activist Colin Kaepernick. The announcement comes days after the NAACP Board of Directors adopted a resolution of condolence for the Wells family during its annual convention. That was kind of them. The resolution calls on local, state, and federal authorities, including the Department of Justice, to conduct what it describes as a thorough and transparent review of the circumstances surrounding Wells' death and the events leading up to the discovery of his body. Football Hall of Famer Terrell Owens has joined the group of people offering a reward for information leading to the arrest and conviction if anything illegal happened. $125,000 reward. Back with you right after this. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi, streaming at supertalk.fm and SuperTalk TV.
From the Seabrook on your smart speaker, phone, computer, and FM on your radio. Everywhere you listen, you'll find the voice of Mississippi. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Back again, Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk of Mississippi, streaming at supertalk.fm and SuperTalk TV. Thanks for joining us. The Mississippi Department of Agriculture and Commerce is inviting livestock producers to a one-day workshop focused on building more profitable and resilient farming operations. It's titled Profitable and Resilient, Building High-Margin Livestock Systems for an Uncertain Future. Big name. 8:30 to 4 coming up on Monday, August 10th in the Forestry Building at the Mississippi Agriculture and Forestry Museum in Jackson. Dr. Alan Williams will be the speaker. He is a nationally recognized livestock systems expert. Commissioner Andy Gibson says, whether you raise cattle, sheep, goats, or other grazing livestock, you will leave with practical ideas you can begin implementing on your own farm. This workshop explores the principles and practices that drive long-term profitability through adaptive stewardship, soil health, and low-input production systems. Other topics include taking advantage of emerging market opportunities, weather patterns, fluctuating prices, evolving consumer demands, and resilience in the livestock industry. So all of that is there. Check it out if you want. Gulfport woman was arrested and charged with 6 counts of aggravated assault. GPD responded to a drive-by shooting on Monday. On arrival, officers witnessed a physical altercation between Leona Iriania Boykin and another woman about 8 o'clock at night. Once police detained the two women, they began their investigation and found that Boykin had allegedly discharged a firearm multiple times into a group of people. Remarkably, no injuries reported from the incident. She's now being held on a $600,000 bond. $100,000 for each count? That's reasonable. Just shot into a group of people. And apparently missed badly. The federal government continues to reimburse cities and counties in Mississippi impacted by the state's worst winter weather event in more than 3 decades. Made the announcement earlier this week of more money being sent out. Alcorn County getting nearly $5 million, $4.5 million to Ole Miss. All of this for debris removal efforts. Prentice County got $4 million, $2.8 to Yallowbushel, $1.7 to Panola. $1,200,000 to LaFleur County, $977 to Twin County EPA. Natchez Trace EPA got $848,000, and there were a whole lot more. It's a federal cost share program. Federal government reimburses at least 75%. It's making a difference for a lot of communities that have come out of pocket on lots and lots of this debris removal and cleanup. Big time thankful to see those checks coming back in. Big time. It's time for your morning sports update brought to you by Pearl River Resort online at pearlriverresort.com. Pearl River Resort is your home for family fun, casino thrills, and live entertainment. A lot of stuff happening at Pearl River Resort. Kind of get into the end of the summer. I mean, it's not going to be the end of the heat, but in terms of the calendar with people going back to school and getting back into the swing of things, it feels like the opportunity to sneak off and do family things gets harder and harder. Take advantage of Geyser Falls Water Park. Got a little while left. Great time to get away and cool off. Georgia running back Dante Dowdle was reportedly involved in a serious ATV accident and is being treated for serious injuries in Atlanta. Kirby Smart revealed that yesterday at SEC Media Days. Dowdle began his college career at Oregon, then went to Nebraska, then Kentucky. He's now at Georgia, so it's been kind of all over, but it all began in Picayune. And he was a dude at Picayune. Details of the announcement at this point are not known. Kirby Smart said he's injured. We don't know when his return will be. I don't know the specifics of it. To be honest with you, it was a recreational vehicle, and he had some serious injuries. Smart told ESPN that Dowdle is being treated at Shepherd Center in Atlanta, which specializes in treatment and rehabilitation, including spinal cord and brain injuries. They're good at Shepherd. They're really good. But you don't go there if you're just kind of sick or kind of hurt. Kirby Smart said he's out of the really tough range. But as far as his complete health and coming all the way back, I don't know what that looks like in terms of this year. Dante Dowdle is a senior at Georgia. He was expected to be one of their top backups behind Starter Nate Frazier. Last year at Kentucky, 560 yards, 3 touchdowns. 2023 at Oregon, 2024 at Nebraska. The Cornhuskers, he had 614 yards and 12 touchdowns in his lone season in Lincoln. We've been talking about high school football in Mississippi for a long time. He's one of the best to ever tote the rock on the high school field in the Magnolia State.
He was amazing. They keep pumping out those running backs down there at Picayune, too.
And he was one of those that, when recruiting, I mean, there was a lot of, man, wish you could get this kid to stay in Mississippi, and it seems as if he wanted to work, practice his craft elsewhere.
Yeah, he wanted to work his way from the West Coast back. You know, can't blame the kid.
Yeah. Yesterday, at SEC Media Days, Michael Borkey from SportsTalk Mississippi sat down with the commissioner of the SEC, Greg Sankey, and asked him about Lane Kiffin running his trap about Ole Miss. Ahead of the September 19th matchup, Ole Miss, City of Oxford, and SEC officials are preparing for a potentially tense atmosphere. If Kiffin's history on social media is any indication, former Rebs coach could add fuel to the fire, although he has been in a, air quotes, self-imposed social media timeout. Greg Sankey said this yesterday. One of the challenges of our current environment is that social media platforms create expectations. We have to shift our expectations to conduct ourselves as leaders from time to time. He emphasized during the interview that he has and will continue to stress to all league coaches to keep the focus on the game, not the circumstances. In the case of Ole Miss and LSU, he said the commissioner specifically has asked Kiffin to focus on his current team, not the one he previously coached. The league has met on several circumstances about game management and expectations. As we move through this and turn to the season, we'll have some ability to remind ourselves of the responsibility. Today's schedule at SEC Media Days, this is day 3 from Tampa, Florida. Ole Miss is one of the 4 teams that will be on the stage. Things get started today with Alabama. Kalen DeBoer on the big stage at 9:05 this morning. John Sumrall from Florida. Ole Miss's Pete Golding will be on the main stage at 1:30. Joined by quarterback Trinidad Chambliss, defensive tackle Will Eccles, and running back Kejuan Lacey. And then Texas A&M there this afternoon as well. Mississippi State, by the way, tomorrow afternoon. 1:30 is when Jeff Lebby will speak. Watch that on the SEC Network. So as we get closer, 5.5-ish weeks away, thought you'd peek at the Ole Miss football schedule. We can do that with Mississippi State tomorrow. Rebels open on Sunday night before Labor Day against Louisville out of the ACC, game that's televised on ABC. Then back home for a Week 2 game against Charlotte before that massive Week 3 matchup with LSU. Got to get back up in a hurry, win, lose, or draw after LSU, because you go to Gainesville to take on Florida with first-year head coach. Then it's at Vandy, then Missouri at home, Texas on the road, Auburn at home, Georgia at home. Got to go back to Oklahoma for the second year in a row, Wofford, and then the Egg Bowl on Friday, November 27th. It's your morning sports update brought to you by Pearl River Resort. We're back after this.
Good morning from the Venable Glass.
Mississippi. Fellow citizens. Mornings with Richard Cross.
Right here, right now.
Super Talk, Mississippi.
Mississippi Lottery update. MSLottery.com is their website. You can also download the Mississippi Lottery app. It is available for free. A Mega Millions jackpot drawing last night, but no jackpot winner. Which means on Friday night, $743 million. $323 million and change, the estimated cash value. Last night's numbers were 25, 37, 59, 68, and 70. The Mega Ball was 10. There is a Powerball drawing that is coming up tonight. And it's up to $567 million. The estimated cash value, a little more than $250 million, $251,800,000. Still no Millionaire for Life winner. That's going to be cool one day when we eventually have that. And eventually we will. So Mega Millions going to $743 million. Don't forget, check your numbers by downloading the Mississippi Lottery official app. We like winners. Give you a Baldwin player. Won $25,000 on a ticket from One Stop Market in Guntown. A Union City, Tennessee man won $5,000 on a ticket from Kroger in South Haven. Congratulations to the winners. It's your Mississippi Lottery update.
Have you started buying tickets yet? I know it's grown to the area in which is interesting. Mm-hmm. 743 and 567.
Yeah, I did. And I kind of had a feeling last night. Kind of like the numbers that the machine spit out for me. Felt like my chance was better than average yesterday. But it was not to be.
You got to keep rolling the dice.
I mean, look, I don't really ever think I'm going to win the Powerball or the Mega Millions, but it is fun to go. I mean,
what if
I woke up? Somebody's going to eventually win it. What? Like, I don't even ever watch somebody in on the golf course. Somebody gets a hole in one. And you have some people that, like, they go nuts in celebration. In fact, that's what most people do, especially if they see it go in. They're with their buddies, and they're jumping around in their arms and whatever. And then you'll see some people, they hit one, and maybe it's because they've had one before, or maybe they just react differently, but they, like, just kind of, like, look at you and grin. It's like
I meant to do that.
I wonder which one it would be. Like, I've thought about it so often, I'd be like, if I walked in to the house, I was like, hey, Jane, you're not going to believe this. She goes, what? And just showed it to her.
Man, I'd be like the contestants when they get their name called on Price is Right.
You'd be running down the aisle,
I'd be running
your arms.
You know it, man.
Yeah.
I'd be doing the sprinkler move all the way down.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
That would be good. It would have been cool if I'd won it last night. Because
I would have got a call at 5 going, hey, not making it today.
No, I wouldn't have left you hanging high and dry. But that would have been a pretty cool anniversary present for Jane.
Well,
like,
yeah,
hey, babe, guess what? Well, yeah, for both of us. Like, hey, I want to share.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I think the kids would enjoy it too, probably.
Talk about how hot it is today. 20 years ago, on July 21st, felt exactly like it did yesterday. Stifling humidity, just hot as could be.
Was it a destination wedding, or did you do it in
No. This was in Oxford.
O-Town.
And then overnight, a little bit of a cool front rolled through, and Lance woke up on the morning of Saturday, July 22nd, 2006, and it felt like football season. Mm-hmm. I mean, like almost a little nip in the air. Little breeze out of the north, gorgeous all day long. I'm sad to say to you that is not going to be the case today.
Yeah, my wedding was more.
We're just going to keep on plugging through the heat.
Yeah, my wedding was a downpour the whole day with the sun out the whole time. So yeah, it was kind of an omen, I think.
You're supposed to be lucky.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they say.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that one.
Yeah.
I don't even remember the day of it. That should tell you.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Jane's put up with me for 2 decades now. Happy anniversary, babe. I got a good one. Mornings with Richard Cross, 6 o'clock hour in the books. Let's jump in and talk. We got a lot to get to this morning, including a conversation with Michael Borkey, Sports Talk Mississippi from SEC Media Days, and William Russell coming up a little bit later. We'll talk some national news stories with him. Thanks for joining us. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk Mississippi.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
This is where Mississippi wakes up smarter. Headlines, context, and the conversations that matter most. Mornings with Richard Cross, right here on Super Talk Mississippi.
And telling those sweet lies and losing again. I was looking for love in all the wrong places, looking for love in too many faces, searching for eyes, looking for traces of what I'm dreaming of.
Good morning and welcome back. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank. Ever notice how some places still know your name? At Community Bank, that's how banking works. We're a bank that knows community because we live here. And when you walk in, you're more than an account number. No matter what your banking needs are, at Community Bank, you'll talk to real people who care about your goals. Community Bank, a local bank built on relationships. Stop by your neighborhood location or learn more at communitybank.net. Alongside Lance Tolbert, I'm Richard Cross. Glad to have you along for the ride on MRC. This morning, this hour of mornings is brought to you by MWG Employer Services. Running a business is tough, and if you're struggling with HR, benefits, and payroll, you're not alone. That's where MWG Employer Services comes in. They can provide a full range of employer services, plus a custom plan that fits you. Give them a call today. 601-206-7966 or go to mwgemployerservices.com. So I mentioned in our news headlines earlier this morning that the NAACP National Convention is happening in Chicago. And there is a press conference scheduled this morning in which Ben Crump will put on his best suit and make sure the cameras are rolling, and we'll talk into a microphone, and reportedly will give an update on the independent autopsy that was ordered in the case of Nolan Wells. He will be joined by Nolan's parents, who a couple of days ago were at the memorial service for Nolan. At that memorial service, there was a $100,000 reward that was announced for the apprehension and conviction in the case of in this case, in not knowing what's going on. What we do not have yet is the report from the Mississippi Medical Examiner's Office. I am of the belief, and this is an educated belief, that the autopsy results are done and that the State Medical Examiner's Office is waiting on the results of toxicology report. the medical examiner is not going to just run out and publish the results. Once her office has all of those results, there will be a full explanation and conversation with the district attorney's office. There was actually I don't know, it was a little ripple in this story a couple of weeks ago when the news came out that the DA agreed to turn the information over to the grand jury. And there were a lot of people who were like, oh, smoking gun, there we go. Grand jury's going to get involved. And that's not, that doesn't mean what a lot of people thought it means. Anytime there is a death that has question marks around it, is unusual, that is standard operating procedure. They turn it over to the grand jury, which is an independent body, and the grand jury will look at the results and decide whether any charges need to come. If there are any criminal charges that should be related, any indictments that should be handed down. But again, that is not an indicator that there is, because the grand jury gets involved, that's not an indicator that, oh, there's something that is at play here. The things that I've been told is there's still no reason to believe, based on the information that has been gathered through the investigation, through 50 or 60 interviews that have occurred with people who were on Horn Island or might have any information related to the Nolan Wells case. I'm led to believe that nothing at this point has indicated that this is anything other than a tragic accident. The truth is, Ben Crump and Al Sharpton and a lot of people online have tried to convince people that there was a crime here, that something nefarious happened. The investigation has indicated nothing to give truth to that assumption. There's nothing to back that up. So it is going to be really interesting to see what it is that Ben Crump says today. It's just a guess, but it would not shock me at all if inconclusive was a word that was used today. And if they are able to say results from the independent autopsy were inconclusive, then they can continue with what a lot of people have called a grift of trying to generate support and unrest and public questions. We will see, though. That happens at 8 o'clock this morning. Hopefully we will have some sort of an update that we can pass along to you. I think it's impossible, unless you have lost a child, to put yourself in the position of knowing how you would react to the loss of your 18-year-old son. And so I don't want to really cast stones here in terms of the way that the Wells family has reacted in this. But it continues to be puzzling to me that their focus seems to have been more on what they're being told to do by Ben Crump and Al Sharpton and the NAACP and these civil rights lawyers that seem to pop up and look for racial division at every single turn, as opposed to honoring and remembering the life of Nolan. To me, that's the saddest part of this as well. A young man who, by all accounts, and maybe you've heard something different, but by all accounts was just an incredible young man who was with his friends on the day that he died. And I get that you just want answers. You just want answers. It's just hard to say, is this the right way to get them? It's really disappointing to me that the way that this has been presented over and over and over has been assuming that law enforcement is doing a shoddy job or that there's some cover-up. When you constantly beat the drum of, we have to have transparency, we have to know we have to hold law enforcement accountable. Why is there a presumption that that's not going to be the case? Because by all indications, the Jackson County Sheriff's Department, in conjunction with the Mississippi Department of Public Safety and law enforcement partners, has been as thorough as they can possibly be. And they continue to say, hey, if you've got any information, pass it along. They want resolution here. And so it's this really tough waiting game while a particular group, and the group that we're talking about is led by Ben Crump, the civil rights attorney, who has been involved in a lot of high-profile cases where the outcome does not appear what he wanted it to be. They just want to keep the division going. And it just feels like they want the news to be bad. We're back with you after this. Mornings with Richard Cross.
From the Venable Glass Truck.
Mississippi wakes up.
Time to wake up.
And Richard Cross is already 3 steps ahead of the headlines. Back to the conversation. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
And she said, you're just a Coca-Cola cowboy. You got a sexy smile and Robert Redford hair. But you walked across my heart like it.
The one plan from C Spire is here. Fiber home internet and wireless, only $99 a month for new and current C Spire customers. One plan, one price, one experience, zero compromises. And you can save over $700 a year with 3 phone lines from C Spire compared to AT&T. Plus, with 5-year price lock, you pay one rate with no surprises guaranteed. So don't wait. Don't wait. Get the one plan today. Visit your local C Spire store or shop online now at cspire.com/oneplan. C Spire, customer inspired. The C Spire text line, 601-879-4395. Some of your messages about the conversation around Nolan Wells. Debbie in Ocean Springs. The funeral on Monday was televised and was far from remembering Nolan, except for what his parents said. I've wondered if when all of this is said and done, if Nolan's mother regrets allowing this circus to happen. Thomas says, when race is no longer relevant, neither are Ben Crump or Al Sharpton, and they are keenly aware of that. Paul and Hernando says they haven't found anything yet because you would have heard about it 10 times over if they had. Bubba says he's lost 2 sons and a wife, and the way the parents are handling this makes absolutely no sense to him. Russ in Rankin County says it's not like all of the law enforcement investigators that are involved here are white. Get a message that says they are trying to set this up for a civil wrongful death lawsuit. Mike in Columbus says, my biggest question leading to suspicions is why did someone have his cell phone? A lot of people don't like to be far from their phone, especially teenagers. But when you're in a lake or a boat setting, leaving your phone on the boat, and I don't know if you know this or not about Horn Island, but you cannot, you have to anchor away from the shore at Horn Island. You can't just pull your boat kind of up to the sandbar and like dry dock it almost. And so the idea that if your boat is anchored offshore just a bit and you got to jump into the water to get to the island, the idea that you would leave your phone on the boat is not some crazy conspiracy. It's kind of the way a lot of people would do. Al Sharpton is a detriment to the black community. Anytime Sharpton is involved with some of this, it is going to be about racism. I mean, he said as much at the memorial service. He said, I'm not saying this is about racism, but I'm not saying that it's not about racism. Are we done with Crump and Sharpton after this, or are they headed back up to Senatobia to stir that fire again? I just thought Al Sharpton's pandering's not the right word. It was about nothing more than sowing division when he tried to invoke Emmett Till, Medgar Evers, and Mississippi's history into what is going on right here. Because there's simply no evidence to support tying those two horrific stories from Mississippi's past into this story about Nolan Wells. There's just not. Other than you are trying to stoke the fires of racism. Period. If we get an update from that press conference at 8 o'clock this morning, we certainly will pass that along to you. It's happening at the NAACP National Convention in Chicago, and it's coming up this morning at 8 o'clock. 11th consecutive night of strikes on Iran by the United States. Military said late last night that they had completed their 11th consecutive night of strikes as attacks across the Middle East overshadowed diplomatic efforts in Pakistan to salvage an interim ceasefire deal that has completely collapsed. U.S. Central Command said that targets included aircraft hangars and drone storage sites. The newest barrage came after Donald Trump telegraphed that the strikes would be intensifying. Iranian Interior Minister Eskandar Momeni visited Pakistan, who is a key mediator in the conflict, kind of.
Yeah, they seem to be doing a great job.
Seeking to revamp diplomacy. Donald Trump said from the Oval Office that he had no interest in meeting. Signaled that the United States forces could soon target an area of Iran that is close to one of its sites for enriching uranium. That is Pickaxe Mountain. I guess that's a great name for a mountain. Negotiations and shipping in the Strait of Hormuz are largely stalled, and both sides are seeking to gain leverage by targeting civilian infrastructure in the region that is relied on by millions of people. Iranian air defenses activated near the capital as the U.S. strikes continued into Wednesday. Iran's state-run news agency reported that explosions rocked Bushehr, East Azerbaijan, Hamadan, Hormozgan, Khuzestan, and Sistan. All those provinces. I'm not familiar with any of those places. And yesterday on Capitol Hill, you had Secretary of War Pete Hegseth testifying before Congress. Pretty heated testimony, as seems to be the case. This war has gotten really, really expensive. So far, Pete Hegseth admitted yesterday during Senate testimony, this has cost the United States $37.5 billion. Hegseth testified, making a case for the United States supplemental funding request of nearly $88 billion, mostly intended to replenish the Pentagon after this war, saying that nearly $38 billion is the tab so far. It's a lot of money. A lot of money.
And that's with no boots on the ground.
That is with, yes. That is correct. And the question of whether or not you ever get to that point, because there is very, very little appetite for that among the American public. Seemingly. You're starting to hear a few people say, look, you just got to do that if you're going to finish this. But we'll see where that goes. Tropical storm Bertha. Saw a video a little while of a weather person at Dauphin Island off of the coast of Alabama. It's just the ocean's just churning. The Gulf's just churning right now. There is an expectation of heavy rain and flooding along the Gulf Coast. The storm, as of last night, was about 120 miles southwest of Panama City, 105 miles southeast of Mobile. It's picked up the pace a little bit. Was moving at about 3 miles an hour, now at 6 miles an hour, moving to the west with sustained winds around 60 miles per hour. Expected to weaken a little bit today through Friday. Bertha forecast to make landfall tonight somewhere along the southeastern border of Louisiana. Wind being the biggest threat. Authorities in Mississippi, Louisiana, and Florida all opened sites yesterday to provide sandbags to residents. Red flag warnings were posted along some of the beaches, trying to keep swimmers out of the water because of the dangers of riptides. Up and down the coast, you had double red flags signaling that Gulf Coast waters were closed for swimming. Tough time if you are doing a beach trip. Hopefully it'll be nice this weekend after Bertha finally clears. Coming up next, Michael Borkey will join us from Tampa, Florida. He's co-host on SportsTalk Mississippi. Ole Miss, one of the 4 teams on the docket today at SEC Media Days. We'll chat with Michael Borkey coming up next. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank.
From theSeabrook.com. No spin, no shortcuts, just the truth, straight from the source. Richard Cross is back. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
So I handed him my bottle, and he drank down my last swallow. Then he bombed a cigarette and asked me for a light. And the night got deathly quiet, and his face lost all expression. Said, if you're gonna play the game, boy, you gotta learn to play.
On this Wednesday, SEC Media Days in Tampa, Florida rolls on. Full coverage of SEC Media Days coming each day on Sports Talk Mississippi with Michael Borkey and Brian Haydad. Ole Miss, one of the teams that will be there today. SuperTalk's coverage of SEC Media Days is brought to you by Pearl River Resort, Cannon Motors of Mississippi, Mississippi Farm Bureau, and Trustmark Bank. And this morning from Tampa, we are joined by Michael Borkey. First year that Media Days has been in Tampa. It's been in Hoover, Alabama a bunch of times, been in Nashville, been in Atlanta. What's the Dallas also, I guess, a couple of years ago. What's the vibe been like in a place that is a long way from most of the rest of the SEC?
Yeah, so the old two things can be true at once. It was, I think in hindsight, a mistake to do it this far away from everybody. The vibe is a little bit lower key than you're used to when there's fewer people here than you're used to because of travel, logistics, cost, all that. We haven't seen much of Tampa, but from what I've seen, I've never been here before.
Yeah?
It's a great place. And I noticed this yesterday in particular. It's really clean. Like, everything seems to be in place. Like, even the highways from the airport to the hotel, and I guess we're in the hospital and finance district or something like that. There's no trash anywhere. Like, everything is really well kept and really clean and really nice. I'm really surprised. I don't know what I expected, but this is a really nice place.
Very good. You had a chance yesterday to sit and visit with the commissioner of the SEC. If you missed that conversation, you can get it online at SuperTalk.fm. You can see clips of it on all of our social media platforms.
And I literally just put it on our YouTube channel, on the SuperTalk YouTube channel in full, so it's there.
There you go. You want to watch the entire thing, YouTube may be the easiest way to do. What'd you learn visiting with the commissioner? Because there certainly are a lot of topics that he is right in the middle of.
So I only got about 11 minutes. I had 10 more questions / narratives that I wanted to get to that I could not get to with him. But I made sure to do local first. So I asked him about September 19th, Lane's return to Oxford. And I don't mean to put words in his mouth, but when I brought it up, it felt like he was a bit annoyed with some of
you?
Not with me. Okay. With the main character in the story. And after I asked him about it, he said, I had to remind our coaches that whether you were at a place 10 months ago, 10 years ago, I do not care. You talk about your own team. And I feel like that message was delivered, especially after the Vanity Fair deal and all that. So he said they are working with Ole Miss to make sure that 2021 Knoxville doesn't happen in Oxford this year. And it was interesting. I asked him about that in particular, and he said, well, you're asking me about it ahead of time. And he said, in 2021, we had no expectations of that. And he said, now we don't expect that to happen, but at least we can be prepared for the possibility of that happening and have those conversations ahead of time. Whereas in 21, he said we weren't prepared for it turning into what it turned into in Knoxville.
Borkey, all the talk is about LSU coming to Ole Miss, and for obvious reasons, but Josh Heupel at Tennessee threw a little bit of flame on the or he fanned the flames, I guess, a little bit on the Lane Kiffin fire. Like, look, he's coming back to Knoxville this year, and don't forget.
Yeah, he said that, his fans are loading up on mustard and golf balls, and he hopes that they don't lose that energy. So I'm sure the commissioner loved that.
Yeah. What has been the conversation this week around this Ole Miss team? Because Ole Miss is kind of in a different place than historically they have been, coming off a loss in the college football playoff semifinal. Double-digit wins in 3 of the last 4 seasons. A lot of expectation for everybody not named Roman Harper going into this year for the Rebels.
We'll visit with him tomorrow. I'm going to ask him about that because I don't know how you can watch what Indiana has done and still be dismissive of a program because of history. So I'll ask him about that because I was surprised after what we've seen that somebody can sit on the SEC network and say something like that.
It was very dismissive. This was in the Sunday night special they had kind of leading into the start of the SEC Media Days, SEC Kickoff as the conference calls it. But in terms of whether it's other media members or what other coaches are saying, what's the vibe surrounding this particular Ole Miss team that is going to have a new head coach in Pete Golding?
To be honest with you, so far it's been unfortunate, I think. And I hope today shifts the conversation because for the first 2 days – it's all been about Lane. Lane. And I get it. He left in spectacular fashion, depending on what you use as the denotation of spectacular. And that's all anybody's been talking about. And it's unfortunate that is the case because absent him, this is a really compelling football team. with really compelling players, really high-level players. You've got, possible first-round draft picks all over this roster. You've got a high-level quarterback, a really fun and interesting and great running back. You've got a defense that has a handful of players that can be like freak, nasty type players, and nobody's talking about them. I was having a private conversation with somebody yesterday, that organizing things for today, and they mentioned, Will Eccles not really going to get a whole lot of media attention. And I thought, that's insane. A soon-to-be first-round, possibly top 15 pick defensive lineman in the SEC is not going to get any attention? That doesn't make any sense. And so that goes to show you how the attention has been still, to this day, we're almost to training camp, zapped away from the actual football players and paid to somebody that's not even with the program anymore.
Will Eccles emerged as a dominant defensive lineman a year ago. I know you had a conversation with, forgive me for forgetting his name, earlier this week about defensive line play nationally, and he said he thought Will Eccles was a top 3 interior defensive lineman nationally.
Yeah, that was Brooks Austin, the film guy, and okay. he had to issue a mea culpa about because we had him on before the Sugar Bowl, and he was like, Georgia, they've just got better dudes, and that'll be what it comes down to. So it was a good conversation, but yeah, he said his combination of power and size, but closing speed is something that the NFL is really going to like because, they have big defensive linemen, you know this, but what separates an NFL defensive tackle from a good college defensive tackle is the ability to hunt down running backs and the occasional quarterback, parallel to the line of scrimmage. And apparently he does that with consistency. So he's not just a big space eater, but he is a guy that can go get a running back when he bounces it outside. He's got that burst, and it's just a pretty unique trait in football in general, and that's why guys, Mississippi State fans, you have defensive linemen in the NFL with $100+ million contracts because those guys don't grow on trees.
They certainly make a difference. If you rewind a year, unless you were really paying attention, you might not have even known the name Trinidad Chambliss, a guy that was just kind of picked up in recruiting. We know the story about Ferris State and winning a national championship there. He was all but headed to Temple before Ole Miss came in. And then Austin Simmons was at SEC Media Days representing Ole Miss. He was the starting quarterback. And then early in the season, Trinidad Chambliss gets thrown in because of injury and then just puts a stranglehold on that job. It's one of the more remarkable recent stories in college football to come from nobody knows who you are to likely preseason first team all SEC at quarterback a year later.
It's amazing. And you know what's funny, though? In hindsight, I especially, hand up, when they had those scrimmages going in training camp, they had, 3 straight Saturday scrimmages going into the season. And there was a lot of,
Simmons did this. Can spin it.
Simmons did that, but man, this Trinidad kid, he's awesome. And I was just dismissive of it because, who knows, right? He's probably playing against backups. Simmons is the guy. Maybe we all should have paid better attention to the preseason scrimmages because apparently he tore it up. But you're right, and he seems really mature. He's one of the older guys. Joking aside, he is one of the older guys in the league, and I'm excited to see how he handles a day like this because, like you said, even though he won a national championship at Ferris State, that's not the same as this. And he's going to have to spend 5 or 6 hours today getting nonstop asked about Heisman, nonstop asked about pressure, playoffs, Lane Kiffin. Why didn't you go with Lane Kiffin? Did you want to go with all? He's going to have to deal with that all day long. And nothing that happens here impacts results on the field. But I do think at that position, you can get a really good gauge on the type of leader and kind of, program figurehead, if you will, he can be in a setting like this. So I'm excited to see how he handles it.
And then Kejuan Lacey, the third Ole Miss player that'll be there today, just the best running back in the SEC, and another guy who is in the conversation potentially for a Heisman Trophy.
And a video game cover athlete. I'm going to ask him how often he plays as himself in a video game, because if it were me, it'd be every day. So
3 to 6 this afternoon, Sports Talk Mississippi from SEC Media Days in Tampa, Florida. Borkey and Haydad have got you covered. They'll be putting content out all throughout the day. Great job this week, and appreciate the time this morning.
Of course, man. I told somebody earlier that they asked where you were, and I was like, Richard's doing politics now, and I just got to ride his coattails here. So, thank you.
It is. I have missed being there this week. I think it was 15 years in a row, not counting the COVID year. But you guys have done a great job. Really appreciate you.
See you, Richard.
Mornings with Richard Cross. We got more coming back with you right after this.
From the Venable Glass.
Liberty isn't just a word to be taken lightly. It's the reason he's asking the hard questions every single morning. Richard Cross is back. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
If I ever settle down, you'd be my kind. And that's a good time for me to hit on down the line.
Thanks again to Michael Borkey joining us from Tampa, Florida, where Sports Talk Mississippi is this week for SEC Media Days, kicking off the 2026 football season. The actual season about 6 weeks away, but it will be here fast. Coverage this week brought to you by Pearl River Resort, Cannon Motors of Mississippi, Mississippi Farm Bureau, and Trustmark Bank. Alongside Lance Tolbert, I'm Richard Cross. Mike in Gulfport giving us a on-the-scene update from the coast. He says, I'm sitting about 3 miles north of I-10. There's a very light breeze and no rain so far. Local TV weather person said very light, if any, rain and wind in the Gulfport area. Some higher than normal tide and some low-lying area flooding is possible. But otherwise, pretty good. So maybe a miss, largely, for the Mississippi coastal area. He does say that the surf is a little rough and the water churning. Storm surge expected of about 4 feet, which would cause some low-lying coastal areas to flood. But given some of the storms of the past, just a hiccup, just another day in coastal Mississippi, which is a good thing, Lance.
Oh, yeah, you need a break, man. I mean, they seem to absorb so much. You know, you've even had the snow and ice down there over the last couple of years, coupled with hurricanes and all that nasty stuff. So please swing and miss. Bertha, swing and miss.
Get a message on the C Spire text line says that Ahmad Hardy is the best running back in the SEC and the country. He's certainly really, really good. There is a question of what his recovery process will be like after being shot in the leg back in May. Eli Drinkwitz, the coach at Missouri, yesterday was not fully committal on when he would return to practice. Said his rehab's gone great. He's doing better. Drinkwitz said he expects an even better version of Ahmad Hardy this year than they had a year ago, but not practicing. It sounds like if they were playing a game tomorrow or even a month from now, that he would not necessarily be ready to go. So, I wasn't any shade at Ahmad Hardy, but if you told me to pick one of those two to be my running back, Kejuan Lacey would be my guy. And Kejuan Lacey was at Missouri. You remember he started his freshman year, or he began his college football career, his freshman season at Missouri, before transferring to Ole Miss. And interestingly enough, Ole Miss was recruiting through the transfer portal Ahmad Hardy from ULM. They did not get ULM's Ahmad Hardy. He went to Missouri. Ole Miss got Missouri's running back, and both teams are as happy as they can be with their guys now. So, anyway, that's all those stories and a whole lot more this afternoon on Sports Talk Mississippi. Conversation about Ole Miss today. Tomorrow the conversation will shift to Mississippi State, as Jeff Levy and the Bulldogs will be there. Mississippi State's players will be Anthony Evans III, the wide receiver for Mississippi State, cornerback Kelly Jones, who was tremendous a year ago, and quarterback Mario Taylor, who ultimately took over the starting role, the signal caller spot last year for Mississippi State. And, man, just physically so incredibly gifted. Big arm, great feet. You kind of saw a couple of times in the Egg Bowl what he can do with his feet, what he can do with his legs. Got to see the maturing process happen, and I don't mean like shows up to class on time. I'm just talking about more experience, dealing with opposing defenses, being the guy. But if you're a Mississippi State fan, the reason that you have excitement about this team is because of the guy that is playing quarterback for you right now in Mario Taylor. When it comes to money, trust isn't automatic. It's earned. That's why Community Bank does things the old-fashioned way. When you come to us, we take time to listen to you and discuss any questions you have. Whether you're saving, spending, or planning ahead, you'll find bankers who know the community because they are part of it. Community Bank, banking designed with you in mind. Visit in person or online at communitybank.net. Mornings of Richard Cross presented by Community Bank. 2 hours in the books, 1 to go, and when we come back, we will visit with William Russell, former advisor and state director in Mississippi for the Trump campaign. He's a partner at Ballard Partners in D.C. We'll hit some of the big national stories that are going on with him coming up in just a little while. C-Spire text line open to you if you want to join the conversation, 601-879-4395. The news is next, then we are back with you for the 8 o'clock hour on Mornings with Richard Cross.
I'm not known for doing a lot, but I do my best work when the weather's hot. I'm pretty good at drinking beer.
250 years of self-government, and Richard Cross still believes Mississippi deserves the truth, not the spin. Back to the conversation. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Moved my family away from my Carolina home. Had dreams about the West and started to roam. 6 long months on a dust-covered trail. They say heaven's at
Thanks for joining us as we roll into this 8 o'clock hour on Wednesday morning, July 22nd, 2026. Thanks for joining us. Mornings with Richard Cross is presented by Community Bank, online at communitybank.net, rooted in our community. Happy to welcome in this morning our friend William Russell. He has worked with the Trump campaign, former advisor and state director in Mississippi. He is a partner with Ballard Partners in Washington, D.C. Looking dapper as always this morning. William, good morning.
Thank you very much. That was a kind intro, Richard. Happy to be here with you guys once again. It's a busy week in Washington. That's apt.
I mean,
that's correct.
I'm not mad at them for it. Congratulations. Yeah, it's a good gig if you can get it. In some ways, this week feels a little like Groundhog Day. Like we're rewinding to the beginning of this Trump presidency, where tariffs were a huge part of the conversation. That has died down, or had died down, in part because of some court rulings that came out. We had Mike McCormick from the Mississippi Farm Bureau Federation last week, and we were talking a little bit about tariffs, and his contention from the very beginning is tariffs are bad for farmers. He's like, I understand what the president's trying to do. And now here we are with Canada again. And we're mad at Canada again. And earlier this week, President Trump saying that we're going to 50% tariffs on most goods with Canada. What's going on? What is the impetus for returning to this conversation? A conversation that, frankly, with a lot of the American public is pretty unpopular as we get closer and closer to midterms.
Sure. Well, you'll recognize that just recently, as of a couple of weeks ago, the USMCA deal that they had in place, they have agreed that they're going to renegotiate, that they did not get renegotiated by the certain time point. So, but they don't want to keep the current structure that exists. So this is a pressure tactic that the president is using to get Canada to come to the table, just as much as you've seen him use these kind of tariff tactics to get Mexico to come to the table, to renegotiate, find a good place where we can all agree. That's all this is. This is tariff tactical maneuvering right now that the president is using. And while the market will react a certain way every time they hear of new tariffs or tariff changing like this, the end goal is to try to get to a better USMCA deal for the United States. Part of it is, this is emblematic of everything he's ever done in the past. Read The Art of the Deal. He goes extreme and then walks his way back from there so that he can get to the actual place where he wanted to be the entire time. So you're going to see this with Canada.
Well, I just forgive me for interjecting, but there is at least a temptation for Canada or any other country to go, this is just bluster. He wrote about this in his book, The Art of the Deal. He's going to say something wild and crazy. He never intends to actually enact it, and then he's willing to walk back from it. But there's like this little Jiminy Cricket on your soldier going, yeah, but he's crazy enough to actually follow through with what he said he might do, and there are a few I mean, is that why this works?
It's exactly why this works, Richard, because it's unpredictability. You have to have trust in the leadership of your country, which I think that the majority of people in this country do. When I say the majority, Republicans definitely, those who are in business, they have trust that he's going to make the right decision. But they also know that these tactics are out there for a reason. It's the art of the war, right? It's what you're going to threaten Iran when we're talking about Iran. How far will he go? Well, he says a lot of different things. There was a time that he was threatening the entire country, wiping the entire country off the face of the earth. Now, do we think that he's going to do that? No. But is there a plan out there to do that? Absolutely. It's part of getting the other side to come to the table and pay attention. And let's have a real conversation, because you don't know. It's the unpredictable nature, which is why he has been successful throughout his entire life. Now, again, it's uncomfortable to me as someone on the outside, to the American people, to Mississippians who are all watching this happen and seeing the initial changes at the ground level, seeing prices go up, seeing almost fear of what happens next. But this is all part of a really elaborate negotiation scheme that is playing out in the public square. Unfortunately, these kind of things just can't happen. They won't be effective behind closed doors, and we just announce whatever we come to. He has to do this. But this is part of him using the media as a tool to accomplish his mission.
When this presidential term began, and we talked about tariffs and some of the other economic policies, I mean, I vividly remember saying this is a long play. This is not an overnight fix for anything that is economic. And we said at the time, I mean, you could be a year, this could be a couple of years, and the risk in it taking a year, 18 months, 2 years, is that you get to midterms and you lose the momentum, House, Senate, whatever. I don't remember if I've said this to you or not, and this is absolutely an oversimplification, but I've said if the price at the pump is at $3.50 a gallon, that is bad for Republicans in the midterms. If it's below $3 a gallon, you got a puncher's chance. Do we have time for it to get below $3.50 a gallon at this point? We're almost to the 1st of August.
I think
am I
right.
messing up in that being kind of the barometer that I use?
No, that was what I was going to say. I think you're right on using price at the pump as your immediate reaction, because that's something that all Americans cannot avoid. They're always looking at the price of gas. That's something that's in your face. As you're driving down the road, after you pick up your coffee on your way to work, you're going to pass by a gas station and see high gas prices. And I agree with you. If there's a way that we can mitigate that and get that price down to as low as possible, the lower it goes, the better chance that Republicans have to maintain control of the House and the Senate. Now, the House is going to be the most difficult, obviously. I think there's a clear path in the Senate. But getting the price of gas under control, which is all directly tied to the Strait of Hormuz, right, and what's going on there. If they can maintain operational control, if they can find a way to get back to some broken, just duct tape together peace deal to hold it in place and get the price of crude down, I think we start getting the price of gas down, and I think come October, come November, we'll be there. But that's all yet to be seen. I mean, in preparation for this interview, one of the things I go back and listen to previous interviews where you and I have been together, and this was the same conversation that we were having a month ago when I was on. If they can find a way to alleviate the pressure that the Strait of Hormuz is putting on our supply chain, our products here in America, then that's a win. You've decimated their nuclear program. Even if they're moving more around, we'll continue breaking that down. We gain control and manage control of the Strait of Hormuz, and then we get the price of gas down, and then we can basically, we're not going to call it nothing. There's never going to be a clear-cut win, but that's as good as it's going to get right now in my mind when it comes to the Iran conflict.
There was a story yesterday, and I don't know if you saw it or not. It doesn't seem to have gained as much national attention, and that is with Yemen and the Houthi rebels that are kind of housed in Yemen saying, Saudi Arabia, we're not going to let you have access to this strait that's kind of at the mouth of the Arabian Peninsula, and that's a major transit route. Is that concerning at all? Like how much should we put into what the Houthis are claiming that they might do at this point?
I mean, I think there's real concern there because the Houthis are organized enough to be able to create some chaos like that. I don't think they're organized to do this over a long-term basis. But I think it's also, this is a reflection of what the president has been doing for years, for his entire term thus far, building the relationships in the Middle East to try to build up, get them engaged where they need to be engaged. And I think that's what you're going to see in the coming days and weeks, are more engagement from the regional partners that we have to try to tamp down some of the challenges that we're facing. Obviously we're dealing with the Strait of Hormuz. If KSA can step up and their partners step in and start affecting change and take on the Houthis, that's a good thing.
More coming up with William Russell in just a moment on the other side of the break. We've got a question or a comment on the C-Spire text line. I'll let you react to that. And then a major announcement as it pertains to Saudi Arabia yesterday. Is this a good plan that is well-intentioned, or is this a risk that long-term might not be worth making? We'll get to that next. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi.
From the Venable Glass Trap.
Lines don't take a summer vacation, and neither does Richard Cross. Back to the conversation. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Just FYI, the press conference that was to begin at 8 o'clock at the NAACP National Convention, in which Ben Crump is, alongside Nolan Wells' family, supposed to make an address or a statement, presumably to reveal the results of the independent autopsy. That press conference has not begun. It is, at this point, about 20 minutes behind schedule, and we will try to keep you up to date with whatever is happening there. William Russell is my guest, former state director and an advisor to the Trump campaign, and a partner at Ballard Partners in Washington, D.C. I mentioned a message that we got on the C-Spire text line. At what point do we stop saying this is all, quote, part of the game, close quote, and realize that Trump's economic policies are not working. The Republicans are about to get whipped in the midterms, and it is largely the president's fault.
Well, my response to that is, I agree. There's no one else to blame but the administration and Congress for where we are. Now, some of these moves that are being made right now, I think, are moves that the president intends to last long past when he leaves office, which is one of the reasons why he's doing it now. And he's kind of in the position where if this means that my legacy lives on as someone who helped take down Iran and stabilize, at least a little bit, the Middle East, he's willing to leverage that and lose the midterms. Doesn't necessarily mean that I agree with that. I still think that there's legislative agenda that needs to be pushed forward, and you can't do that with a broken Congress. But I kind of agree with that statement. They brought this on. They were the ones who did this. Now, you can also walk and chew gum at the same time, I assume. So there are other levers that they should be pulling, that could be pulling to help bring down some of the heat here at home. But this is a natural reaction. This is what we're seeing right now is a natural reaction to taking such an aggressive foreign policy stance. But again, it's all done in the mindset of if Iran truly posed a threat, which I believe they did, and you can't not believe that having watched the administration take action the way that they did, this is going to have a long-term net benefit for us. And I would point to, it's not necessarily the same because there was not as much foreign policy engagement, but the midterms of Ronald Reagan's first term got wiped off the map, right? 2 years later, because of the cuts that he made and because of the changes that he made here domestically, he won by the largest electoral college margin in history.
40 out of 50 states.
That's part of it. Yeah. So that's part of it, right? This is all. History has a way of fleshing it all out, and I think that in the long run, that's what the president is banking on here.
You've been around the president certainly more than most of us have. You've had conversations with him. You've watched him closely from a vantage point that most don't have. How concerned is he with the L word that you used a moment ago, legacy?
I think that very much this is where he's coming from now. I think the first term was about getting the domestic agenda down, right? And it got sidetracked with the pandemic, and it got all messed up through the pandemic. So he's using term 2, these last 4 years, to create a lasting impact, to build on that legacy. What is he going to be known for? We look at what Richard Nixon did after. This is not a good comparison to the current president. I don't think that Donald Trump's going to be removed from office. But we look at what Richard Nixon did post his time as president. He became an elder statesman and was heavily involved in foreign relations, foreign policy, helping build strategic relationships. The president and President Nixon had a relationship back then. I think that there's unique characteristics that they both share, and that the president kind of sees that opportunity through fixing some of the foreign policy questions that have plagued the United States for many, many years, right? And that's why you see new relationships being built in the Middle East. That's why you see some real action in Central and South America, removing Chinese interference in those countries. And I think that's why you're seeing what he's doing in Iran, because all of this, when history tells this story 50 years from now, this is going to be a central part to it, of the moves that he made. And I think that that's the frame of mind that he's in right now.
William Russell at Ballard Partners is my guest. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi. Yesterday, we saw the announcement that the president has approved an agreement with Saudi Arabia that could provide the kingdom with uranium enrichment capability for its civilian nuclear program. But there are those who are immediately making the jump and saying, well, this might give them the opportunity to be able to develop a nuclear weapon in the future as well. Is this a good idea, a great idea, a terrible idea, a wait and see idea?
I think this is a good idea. Maybe not the greatest idea, but I think this is a good idea. And I just referred to this. KSA, Saudi Arabia, has done a very good job being a partner to not just the president this term, but over the past several years. I mean, I'll point to the economic investment that the commitments that they've made on investing in American businesses up to the tune of almost $1 trillion. We can talk about the defense and regional security that they've provided thus far. We can talk about counterbalancing the China influence that's in that region. They have proven for not just a couple weeks, but an extended period of time that they want to be partners and they want to be players in the arena. And I think that by us allowing them to develop, to enrich uranium, it's showing a little bit of a trust factor there that I think it's deserved. Now, obviously, when we're talking about enriching uranium, when we're talking about developing nuclear programs, we all have to keep a watchful eye over anybody who does that, right? I don't think Saudi Arabia is some special that we have to watch extra close. I think anybody's doing that, we need to be paying attention. But for this specific instance, I think it's warranted. I think it's they deserve it at this point.
And to me, the long-term concern is if you know anything about the history of Saudi Arabia and the rise to power that MBS has, Mohammed bin Salman, who is the crown prince there now, he kind of came out of nowhere. Like, he clawed his way to the top of the royal family. Maybe he's going to be the leader there for the next 50 years or the next 40 years or whatever it is. But if something were to happen to him, we have no idea who the next person in Saudi Arabia would be that is calling the shots and maybe would not have the same outlook on economic investment or trying to be a good regional neighbor that MBS seems to have within his sights.
It's impossible to plan for those things, though, Richard. Like, we're doing the best we can with what we know right now. And what we do know is MBS has come in and wholesale changed the culture on the ground in Saudi Arabia to provide this opportunity of the things that I just listed out. That's all coming under his tenure. So you're right. We don't know what the future holds, and we don't know what MBS is going to do in 20, 30, 50 years from now. But what we do know is that he has been an advocate for culture change on the ground and has been an advocate for regional partnerships, to include the United States, that are built to last. It's not built because it's political expediency. It's built because he sees that as the way to go moving forward.
Well, it's all that economic diversity for the kingdom also.
Absolutely. Absolutely it is. They have a wealth of information. They have a wealth of assets, and I think that they want to find a way to build toward a better future using that. And the only way you can do that is by having friendships. Yeah. You can't do it on your own.
Last thing for you. Got 30 seconds left. You said busy week in D.C. What else are you keeping your eye on?
Oh, there are a couple of things. The NDAA is obviously a hot button issue right now. We saw some fireworks come out of congressional hearings yesterday. We're also working on there's a couple of different things. We're watching the Protect College Sports Act coming out of Commerce Committee in the Senate. I think that's going to be heading toward some sort of vote at some point very soon. That has some direct impact on our SEC teams. And globally on the ramifications of cleaning up college sports as a whole. So there's a couple of different things that we're watching right now, but this is not one of those weeks where you're bored in Washington D.C. There's always something going on. There's always going to be a firework or two.
Who knew? Tommy Tuberville, maybe the voice of reason in the College Sports Act, saying vote against the Protect College Sports Act, and let's talk about this more narrow set of guidelines. We'll see where that goes. William, always appreciate your time. Good being with you this morning, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks for having me, Richard. Have a good day.
William Russell with Ballard Partners. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi. We're back with you after this.
From the Seabrook Dike, reaching across the state and across the aisle. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
One night a wild young cowboy came in, wild as the West Texas wind.
Welcome back. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi, presented by Community Bank, online at communitybank.net. Community Bank, rooted in our community. It's rare that we take a live feed from something that's happened, but I think it's worthwhile here. I've not been able to watch the press conference so far in its entirety. It did begin about half an hour behind schedule. Derek Johnson, president of the NAACP, stood at the podium first and said that they were looking for accountability and the truth, and they were not insinuating anything other than a dereliction of duty by law enforcement in Mississippi. And he pointed to the fact that law enforcement was taking the word of people that they have talked to and allowed that to be the narrative instead of investigating the people with which they have discussed. That is patently false, by the way. Somewhere between 50 and 100 interviews have been conducted by law enforcement on the coast to try and understand, without jumping to a conclusion, what happened on that day. Ben Crump stepped to the podium and he talked a lot about all of his team and who the attorneys were after making sure that everybody had his name and spelled it correctly. And then he handed the microphone over to the mother of Nolan Wells. Let's listen into that just for a moment.
Nolan Wells' mother and father, Christine and Elmore. Please give them a warm NAACP welcome.
First of all, I want to say thank you all so much. Thank you to President Johnson as well as Chairman Russell. This has been a difficult journey. Losing a child, it truly breaks your heart. It is a pain that is just, you can't measure it. Especially someone like Nolan, who brought so much joy and light and life to everyone. You don't find too many genuine people like him. So to lose that light at such a young age under these circumstances has been absolutely difficult, which is why we've gone this route. There's so many people out in the public asking all of these questions. But the only question that we have is what happened to our son. That is the only question. We have consistently been degraded by the public. There's been questions about our parenting, our GoFundMe, this, that, and other. I've been called a racist. I am a healthcare provider, and I take my job very seriously. I love everyone.
I'll pause there for a second, and I don't know that we're going to be able to listen to all of this. You heard Christine say that the only thing that they really want to know is what happened to their son. And who could blame her on that particular point? In the loss of a child, you want to know what happened. You want answers, and you want the truth. And hopefully that is what she is getting. Let's pick this up with, I think Ben Crump was maybe just introducing another of the attorneys. We'll see if they are actually going to reveal the report or the findings in their independent autopsy. We'll listen in here for a second. I think this is one of the attorneys that is working with Ben Crump.
Thank you. Dr. Roger Mitchell could not join us today, but we felt it important before we reveal and unfold this report that you understand who conducted this autopsy. Dr. Roger Mitchell is a physician and board-certified forensic pathologist with 2 decades of experience. He currently serves as the president of the National Medical Association, which is the oldest and largest group of black physicians in the U.S.
I'm going to jump ahead just a touch. This is Ben Crump coming back to the microphone.
Attorney Park. I again want to express our gratitude to President Johnson, Chairman Russell, and the NAACP, because civil rights is more important than ever in the United States of America today. And so we thank you for the civil rights leaders stepping up to say that our children's lives matter now more than ever. And I want to thank all of you for getting up 8 in the morning. If people could see how many people are gathered here.
There's a big crowd in the room.
Say, you all are truly blessed to have the support of America, Christine and Elmore.
All right, I'm going to pause that, and the live chat is kind of would not necessarily suggest that, but if it feels like they get to a point where they're actually going to reveal the results of their independent autopsy, then we'll try and go back and grab that. Apparently, he is currently talking about LeBron James, based on what I'm seeing in the live chat. So we will come back to that. It's a sideshow. If you had damning evidence from the autopsy report, wouldn't you lead with that? I suppose it's more important to make sure that the cameras are rolling and you stay there for a long time. Got a message from someone on the coast. The things that are being said during this incident down here have been astounding even for the NAACP. They won't reveal much because if they do, that would take Crump and Sharpton out of the spotlight and make them unnecessary. Oh, gracious. I'm sorry. I'm at a loss. I really am in this, and I think many of you are perhaps as well. In that, maybe I'm naive in that as a parent, I'm looking at this thing and I'm going, this family lost a child. And you want answers and you want to understand what happened, but they have either created or allowed to have created a circus, a complete 3-ring circus surrounding the death of their son. And in the process have degraded and insulted and called into question the integrity of the law enforcement officers who have been working day and night nonstop since the 4th of July to try to get to the truth of what happened on Horn Island and ultimately the death of Nolan Wells. And while they talk about wanting to get the truth, and when I say they, I'm using that as a collective, but I'm really thinking about Ben Crump and Al Sharpton and Derek Johnson with the NAACP. While they say that ultimately what they just want is the truth, that's not what they want. And it's evident that that's not what they want. They want racial divide. They would never admit it, but ultimately what they want to find out is that one of these young white boys is responsible for the death of Nolan Wells so that they can create a firestorm. And that is so sad. It's heartbreaking. It's horrific. But I don't know how you watch the way the last almost 3 weeks have unfolded and come to any other conclusion. If they say anything that actually is of newsworthy substance, we'll pass it along to you before we wrap things up today. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi, streaming at supertalk.fm and SuperTalk TV.
From the Venable Glass Trap.
Mornings with Richard Cross. What's up?
Let's get the show going.
SuperTalk Mississippi.
He's raised in the swamp, back in the smooth. He grew up eating rattlesnake meat, drinking homemade brew. And folks here about to call him Gator. And everybody knows.
Back with you one last time. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi. I'm going to go back to this press conference a second. They have set up a couple of tripod stands with a blown-up copy of the autopsy report. We'll listen in just for another minute or two of Ben Crump and see what he's got to say about what is in the autopsy report, the independent autopsy that was performed in Washington, D.C. On the body of Nolan Wells.
Preliminary report, second autopsy, death of Nolan Xavier Wells. Cause of death, undetermined, pending investigation.
Just pause there for a second. If you've been with us throughout the entirety of the morning, we said that earlier today, it was a little bit of a thought that they might say that cause of death was undetermined, but we'll listen back in.
And we'll explain that as we go through the report this morning. The manner of death, undetermined, pending investigation. Statement of examination. This forensic pathologist was retained to perform a second autopsy examination on the body of Nolan Xavier Wells. Name of decedent, Nolan Xavier Wells. Age, 18 years old. Race, black. Gender, male. Date of death, unknown. Second autopsy date was performed on July 10th, 2026. Preliminary findings. And this is significant. Focal area of red discoloration in the soft tissue of the back of the head, the occipital region. He said the etiology is unknown at this time. He said the body was received after the initial autopsy. He said the body had marked decompensation.
Decomposition, I believe, is what he was trying to say.
He said coronal incision of the scalp, brain removal, Y-shaped incision of the anterior torso, and he talked about the organs being removed as is common. accompanied in the body cavity. And that when you have an autopsy, the organs are removed from the body and they are dissected and examined. And then they are put back in a bag within inside the body.
All right, we're obviously with 3 minutes left, not going to get to the significance of this. It is interesting that the doctor whom they had performed this autopsy was, as one of the attorneys said, unavailable to present the findings. And so, and not that, I mean, look, he could have anything going. But of something of this level of significance, you would think that the doctor who actually understands what he's talking about would explain the findings here. Cause of death, undetermined. Date of death, undetermined. And he is explaining the way autopsies work. And so, is the Wells family any closer to answers? I don't know. Ben Crump did say that the autopsy report would be available on his website, bencrump.com. He was quick to say, I went to the press center on that website and do not see it at this point. So I guess at some point they are going to make this report available for the public to see. This is tough. Tough going through it. Obviously incredibly difficult for the family, regardless of how you feel about how they are going about the aftermath of their son's death. It is unfathomable what they are going through. And so I hope that in all of this, they can find some peace and the memory of Nolan Wells can at some point actually be honored for who he was as a person. Sorry, kind of a tough morning, and I'm trying to be as rational and reasonable as we can as we hear this. We do appreciate you being with us. Thanks to Michael Borkey for joining us from Tampa. Don't forget, SEC Media Days continue. Sports Talk Mississippi live today and tomorrow from Tampa, Florida. Presented by Pearl River Resorts, Cannon Motors of Mississippi, Mississippi Farm Bureau, and Trustmark Bank. My thanks also to William Russell for joining us this morning, talking about some of the national stories. I will be away for the next few days. You will be in the wonderful and capable hands of Lance.
Oh, wow.
Keep it between the ditches, brother.
You got it, my man.
Thanks for being with us. Hope you have a wonderful Wednesday. For my partner, Lance Talbert, I'm Richard Cross. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi, presented by Community Bank.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.